All right, let's move on here to New Year's Eve. We start out with the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl between Tulsa and Mississippi State. And this is in Fort Worth, Texas at noon on ESPN at BetMGM. At BetMGM right now, Tulsa's a 2.5-point favorite, over under 48.5. I will say that Mississippi State, they had a clunker against Auburn, but over their last 3 or 4 games, the offense looked a lot better once they changed to Will Rogers at quarterback, which I was screaming for. He's just comfortable in running the offense. He did it in high school. The air raid is just different. KJ Costello, never comfortable doing it. When I look at the Tulsa defense, though, what do they play? 3-3-5. They can have 3 down linemen, drop 8. They play a lot of these spread attacks. They're kind of built to stop a team like Mississippi State, but Tulsa's missing their best player, maybe the best linebacker in all of college football, and Collins, who opted out, which is a huge loss. On the other side of the ball, I don't know if Tulsa's offense, look, they did some good things against Cincinnati, but this offense all year did nothing all year in the first half. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, they went 4 straight games averaging 4 points per first half, leading up to their AFC championship against Cincinnati. And, then they relied on a lot of explosive plays late. They had a ton of big comebacks. Does Mississippi State want to be here? I don't know. Does Tulsa have a letdown after the Cincy? This game is hard for me to get a read on. I'm digging deep into it. I'm doing a write-up for this game. So make sure you check that out on actionnetwork.com, the Action Network app, for all of my updated and condensed thoughts after going through this game even some more over the next few days. But curious to get your thoughts here.
Well, I took Mississippi State +3 once the Zaven Collins news came out because he was such a big part of the defense. He was, leader in sacks with 4. He doubled anybody else's hurries at 25. He was 3rd on the team in tackles. And Tulsa was 6th in pass coverage in the nation with a strength of schedule of 66th. And if you want to beat Mississippi State, you want to beat an air raid offense, you need to run a 3-3-5. And Tulsa runs a 3-3-5 on 75% of downs. They run a 3-4 on the other 25% of downs. So they can defend the air raid. And they did play SMU earlier this year, who was running the Sonny Dykes, Mike Leach protege air raid. And they had just 200 passing yards on 36 attempts against Tulsa. And they never scored in the second half. So Tulsa is not fresh in preparing for air raid. They saw it out of SMU and they shut it down in the second half and only allowed 200 passing yards. Problem is they're missing their leader on defense. Mississippi State had 51 points in a win over Mizzou after losing 6 of 7. Their quarterback, Will Rogers, went for 295 and 3 TDs. And their wide receiver, Wally, had 129 yards on just 5 catches. So either it's an air raid, and if you haven't got it figured out and you're not, rushing 3 and dropping 8, you're going to get exposed. And Mississippi State doesn't have great numbers on defense, but their strength of schedule is 5th in the nation, a huge contrast to what Tulsa's had to deal with this year. So I think they're going to prevent Tulsa explosive runs. Tulsa excels in passing downs explosiveness. We talked about this before about Tulsa's only offense is when they're 3rd and 15 and they just make shit happen. That just seems to be the only time Tulsa gets points up. Hold on. Mississippi State, the key stat for that, if Tulsa's just going to only do things on passing downs and they have passing downs explosiveness, Mississippi State defensively, they're just 51st in passing down success rate, and they're 77th in passing downs explosiveness on defense. So they can give up a big play. I expect Tulsa to be able to do something when they're, 3rd and 20 and the like. I took Mississippi State +3. I'm not sure how comfortable I am with it. I was pretty confident when Zaven Collins was out because, he's the biggest player on the defense. But the fact that they have some very good safeties, they have a lot of guys in the secondary that have, some good pass breakups on the season. And the fact that they've seen the air raid and kind of shut it down in the second half on SMU makes me a little nervous about this play. So there could be an in-game, could be a live hedge on this, maybe see how it starts out, maybe try to get 3 on Tulsa on the other, on the other side. Tulsa, I think, can absolutely hang against the air raid, but, Collins is the reason that I made this bet.